Hello grade 11s, you must do a PAT this year, and in this video lesson I want to discuss the details. As you know, this PAT will count 15% of your year mark. On our website you also have this task description, the grade 11 PAT-business docs document. This document gives you all the instructions that you must follow. The other document that you must look at is the grade 11 PAT business rubric.docx. This is the rubric according to which we will mark your submissions. So for the first submission, which will be your company planning, these are the items. Note that you must do some research, that the research and the resources you use must be made available. You must decide on a small business and create all the documentation for this small business. The first part of your project and the first submission is to do some research and planning, and this must be typed up using a word processor. You must create a folder structure for the task to ensure that the links remain in place. Once you have decided on a type of business, let's say for example a flower shop, then go and visit some flower shops. Ask the lady or the person that runs this about how much flowers they buy, where they buy it from, how do they transport the flowers from wherever they buy it to their shop. How do they distribute flowers? Do they deliver, or do people merely walk into their shop? So do some research, and if you write down notes during your research, attach them as part of the record keeping of the research you've done. That's what is meant by hard copy research must be submitted with your task. If you use websites or books, then you must please tell us where you found them, give us a list of references and a bibliography. In order to demonstrate to us that you've done some research, put all of this in a word processing document. Decide on your company name, answer these questions, and remember, while doing all of this, to use good word processing techniques. You must create a main slogan for your company, in other words, a positioning statement. One line which you use to advertise, to tell people about your company. For example, Sir Online School's positioning statement or slogan is expanding students' potential online. Decide on a color scheme and then use these in all the other documents that you're going to create. When designing your company logo, use a graphics program and make your logo creative. At this point, it's good to go back to the rubric to see that we've covered everything. The rubric in the first section will give you these marks if you obtain these objectives. Here you can see that you will get 3 marks for company name and objectives, 2 marks for slogan and mailing details. A company logo is 5 marks, so make some effort with your company logo. Make sure that it's pretty, make sure that you have text and pictures, and you get some marks for your company color scheme. Show us that you've done some research. In other words, attach either the websites you've visited, and if you've made notes by visiting people, scan those notes in and send them to us as well. The last 2 items are important because they count 6 marks in total. You must produce a plan for what your task is going to look like. In other words, company always uses specific fonts, specific colors, and specific formatting. So tell us in this first document what you are going to use in all the other documents. You are going to use Arial 14 point, for example, and you are never going to use italics and bold. You are going to use line spacing of 1.5 or 1. So write a paragraph about how you intend to format your documents in the future. And then the last part, the plan for use of packages. Here you must tell us what you are going to use your spreadsheet for, what you are going to use a database for. So give us a few lines and cover those items. So our second submission is the word processing. And here you have the number of items, effective use of elements that must be present, horizontal lines, logo, company details, etc. Let's go and look at the instructions again. The next part of the process is to start creating all the documents for this business, and you must make use of all these packages. So for the word processor, and that's the next part to submit, we must create a form letter with company details, as well as one of the following: a welcoming letter, or a letter of appointment to new clients, or an invitation to a grand opening event. You must create a mail merge. And then the last thing is to create a letterhead with your company's details and objectives. So let's look at this mail merge. Create a welcoming letter or a letter of appointment to new clients. So we need to create a few clients so that we can create a mail merge and send this letter to them. By now you know what a mail merge is. You need to have a database, a list of clients and their email addresses or physical addresses, and you need to merge this with a document, typically a welcoming letter or a letter of appointment or an invitation, so that this can be sent out. You will get marks for the elements that are present, page numbering, creative use of headers and footers. In other words, other items need to be in there over and above page numbering. Then the quality of the graphics. A mail merge. A mail merge counts 20%, 5 out of 25 for this section. Then the normal word processing things, alignment, overall impression and creativity. Enough said about the word processing. The next submission is going to be the database. I know the spreadsheet comes numerically next, but the database is the one that you are going to submit next. This application will be used to create a database of all your clients and your stock list. So in other words, the word processing should have made use of this database. So your database will have your clients, your stock, and you will use tables, forms, and queries, as well as produce reports. So you will use these 4 things in the database, and you will have at least 2 tables, one for clients and one for stock. When you do a filter, you must make a screenshot and put this in a Word document so that we can mark this. The rubric says you must produce your rough work on paper, scan it in and submit it to us, of your planning and design of your database, 2 marks. You must create and modify at least 2 tables. We know which tables those are now. Modify some field attributes. Field descriptions, use of correct data type, in other words, typically what should be a number field, etc. I don't want to go through every field here, but you can see that you will get marks for primary keys, for creating a query with multiple criteria, using at least 3 filters and make screenshots of those. Look at the last few. Forms and reports maintain task formatting, fonts and color schemes. Now these reports that you print them electronically. You can produce them as a PDF file. Print them to PDF. Otherwise you'll have to print them out on a printer and scan them in. But for our purposes, if you print to PDF, that's good enough. Your next submission is the presentation, which you use for sales and marketing. Use a standard presentation which will either sell a product or a service and can be used for a marketing plan or to be a product or service overview. So now we know what we must cover in this presentation. So our presentation will count 25 marks. It must run in loops, standardized layouts, in other words font styles and color schemes, use some custom animation, and make sure that you use order and timing correctly. What else is strange in this rubric? Use navigation buttons, use hyperlinks, make sure that we can see them. The next submission is your spreadsheet. The spreadsheet will be used to control salaries of all your employees. You could also include a worksheet for sales. So we know that we need at least 1 worksheet in the spreadsheet for salary and perhaps a second one for sales. These must be printed normally. By the way, I want you to print to PDF. Then you don't have to scan them when you submit these. And with formulas viewed, and must include at least 2 graphs. So there we know what we must do in the spreadsheet. Let's look at the rubric. The rubric says that our spreadsheet, where's the spreadsheet? Spreadsheet counts 50 marks. So let's have a look at all of these items. Tables must have visible headings. Use merge and center and formatting. I think you can go through these and I will only highlight 1 or 2 of them. Every one of these items seems to be self-explanatory. You can see correct use of syntax for operators like any formulas you are going to using. You must specifically use the COUNTIF function and the COUNTA function. And I think the spreadsheet task is actually self-explanatory if you follow this rubric and the instructions at the same time. Then we get to the desktop publishing section. Create a business card, brochure or newsletter and envelopes for your company. Envelopes can be used for mail merge purposes. Let's firstly have a look at what the instructions say more about the presentation. Use PowerPoint, Publisher or MS Paint. Clip art, word art, digital photograph, scanning. It must include selling your product business, minimum length 10 slides with those items. There should be a poster or advertisement of the business and products, and a brochure, letterhead and newsletter. Now let's look at the rubric. Our desktop publishing section, the business card, 9 marks. Look at these items. The brochure or newsletter, these marks, 17 of them in total, and make sure that you cover each one of them so that I can give you marks. And then the envelopes, paper size, make sure that you know what the envelope size is that you're going to use, logo and company details, and the alignment and layout. The instructions say the following about the database. The tables created in this database will form the basis of this portfolio. Your tables must be planned carefully. You must show some of that planning, because a well-planned database is very valuable. It must include these tables: client, stock lists, create some forms, create some queries, print them out, and export and importing of data. You can use screenshots there to tell me how and when you've exported and imported data. The last part to do is the submission stage. If you look at the rubric, you can see a number of items and the marks allocated to them, but look at the instructions. The instructions you will find here at the bottom, below all of those, this section. You must use a single word processing document to include the following: a cover page which you must create now, including all of these, a table of contents automatically generated, so Word must do that, an introduction and short abstract. A short abstract means a short summary of the project and what you wanted to achieve. The planning document showing how each application was used to design the major project, as well as all of these things. Create a plan for the document layout. Now we've spoken about document layout. Here we want to see the plan you had for it. And then a summary or conclusion at the end in which the process you have followed and future evaluation and development of your business will be discussed. So for instance, here you could say, I have created the following documents for my business. I suspect that a year from now I will have to check whether my database is working fine, whether the letterheads are doing the job appropriately, and whatever else I need to review in a year's time. And finally, of course, include your references and bibliography. Let's quickly look at the rubric. Title page, 3 marks. Table of contents automatically generated. Introduction, which is the short summary or abstract. A task summary refers to these: a planning document showing how each application was used to design the major project. And the others are self-explanatory.